Hello and welcome to Dog Days, where we talk about all things cannabis. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Holly B. And today I have my co-host with me. And we were talking about this earlier. Can I call you Mr. Bill or is that a no-go?
It'll cost you, but you can.
Mr. Bill Fuchs with Ethereal Gold Dispensary, my guest co host, who is joining me for this very special episode. Something unique in the doghouse today. We have a self proclaimed fantasy football hustler from Las Vegas, host of Sports Talk, Elevated Sports Talk, Mr. Alex Marino. Hey, welcome to the doghouse, Alex.
What is up?
Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Happy to be
So,
here. Ready to represent in the doghouse.
So I'm just gonna full disclosure. I know nothing about fantasy football. I was a swimmer in high school, so all of like the team sport thing I don't really get. So I am going to let you guys just kind of kick it off and talk about fantasy football.
That works for me. Sounds good.
Again. And Bill, do you have any questions like at all? Maybe we can start there.
Oh man, I've got so many questions. Let's see, where should we start? Let's start with fun. Caleb Williams, what's your take?
So Caleb Williams, QB for the Bears.
Uh
I think
huh.
he's overhyped because
Oh, amen.
he's being hyped up as like the best rookie prospect, best QB rookie prospect ever. And I know there's always the next best, who's like the next best thing, but he's got to I mean overcome like what a 60-year curse of like bad quarterbacks, like he's got his work cut out for him. And I can't get behind it. Usually if someone's like super overhyped to me, I kind of just have to take the full opposite end of the spectrum, and so this one I am.
I'm 100% agreeing with you. I think the guy's gifted. I think he's got a ton of talent, but I think the Bears are going to throw him onto the field, and he's not used to losing. So if you don't have the mental toughness, the mental aptitude to go to the next level, my money sits there too. So I probably should have started. What team are you a fan of before we even dive into fantasy?
So I used to be a fan of the San Diego Chargers, but they moved to LA, and it was kind of like it was ugly from the ownership. They were pretty much like, all you San Diegans, if you guys don't vote for the stadium to come out of city taxes, we're just leaving and we're going to LA. And everybody, including me, was like, screw you then, go to LA.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm a free agent as far as that goes, and which makes it more fun for fantasy because I'm not like extra biased towards players that I would be, loyal to the team.
Or the team that you watch every weekend. So you definitely want to have a couple of their players on your sheet so you can see what the heck they're doing firsthand. Absolutely.
Yeah, and we're watching pretty much every single game on Sunday anyways, and I'm in so many leagues. I pretty much have somebody in every league, and I'm going against somebody in every league as well. It's usually how it works out.
Red zone has been a big bonus for fantasy football, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Watch every game, let it rip. Yeah, it's been a blast. So I have to admit to being a lifelong Packer fan, so pretty excited. Did I think we might have paid a little bit too much for Jordan Love? I don't know. The ticket's out for that, but based on what he did this last year and the last half of the season, I guess they're putting their money where their mouth is. So I guess we can run through with that. Who's your if you don't mind sharing, who's your top like 5 QBs this year for fantasy?
This is Noble. He just came in, wanted to say hi. Usually he comes in when I'm on the live streams.
So does he have a fantasy team yet?
No, not yet. He likes all the themes because one of the leagues that we're doing right now. It's a Marvel themed league, and 32 teams in it. And he was like, "Wait, I want to be in this one. I could be Spider-Man."
And I have my own monitor.
You do. You have your own money.
Monitor. He got his.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's getting a computer hooked up now.
Nice.
And so, what do we say? Top 5 QBs.
If you want to start there, otherwise, yeah. If you want to start someplace else, we can always start with.
That's good.
Most exciting part and start with kickers, I guess. But
oh man, I just get him out of fantasy football. But I feel like Mahomes still at number one. I feel like a lot of people are just underestimating him again. We'll
Yeah.
go Josh Allen at number two because he runs
Really?
a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he lost his weapons, but he could still run, and he's way more accurate than he was as a rookie in his second year. So
Mhm.
I got some confidence in him. And then we'll say Jalen Hurts is going to be in there because he's got AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert. Now they got Saquon Barkley that he could just throw the ball like a yard to, and he can run it for 60 yards.
Yeah, make a stat pattern. Yeah.
Let's see who else. I'm gonna put Lamar Jackson in there as well. He kind of like to win. He kind of has to put the team on his back, and as long as he's healthy, he's usually amongst the top guys.
No Caleb Williams, no Jordan Love. Hey, not feeling love.
not
No
the-
Jared Goff.
Not in the top five. I mean, so that's four. Who would be my top five? I think. I mean, some of his wide receivers are having contract issues right now, but I'll put Joe Burrow in the top five.
You got to get the highest paid guy up there.
Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love, right? Those
Yeah.
are the new highest paid guys.
And I think Joe Burrow's up there too, isn't he? Not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was last year. Him and Herbert, they got paid last year, so they're just right underneath the new guys who got paid this year.
So when you pick, what is your typical pick philosophy for people playing? And I suppose it depends upon what fantasy type of league you're into. It's
Yeah.
I
I try to build well-roundedly. So, I mean, depending on what type of league it is and where I'm at in the first round, it might be a running back, it might be a wide receiver, but trying to get one of each of those guys if I can, because I just feel like if you get too many at one position early,
Mhm.
and then you get like an injury to the one position that you kind of pushed off a little bit, you're kind of just like screwing yourself for the entire season.
Been there, done that. Was the most active pickup of people sitting on the bench many times, and sometimes it just happens that way. You imagine with Aaron Rodgers last year. If you had Aaron Rodgers, you're out
Yeah.
3 plays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did have him.
Yeah. So where do you pick your QBs usually?
Well, so a lot of the leagues that I'm in, we start 2 QBs. So
Mhm.
it could be the first, second, or third round for the first QB, and then maybe somewhere in the 5th or the 6th, for the second QB. Because I really try to have 2 QBs in that top 24. Like, it's another thing if you like push off the QBs and then one of them get hurt, then it's really annoying and kind of hard to compete.
Yeah, and it's hard to pick them up off the wire too.
Yeah.
Usually. And
Yeah.
if people know they've got you by the cojones, you're going to get paid a premium if you want to trade with them. So what do we got then? Where's the next place you usually go with fantasy then? Usually run after you mentioned running backs. Do you have your top 5 this year on running backs?
So for running backs, it's still got to be CMC number 1. I'm not buying into we're gonna give him less work like type thing. He's just way too good. Him, and then I'll put Breece Hall number 2, then Bijan number 3, Saquon Barkley number 4, and then I'll put Gibbs at number 5.
Ooh, Gibbs above Jacobs.
Yeah,
Jacobs is going to be a workhorse this year. I'll put my probably put him in the top 3-4.
Yeah.
So.
But see, that's your loyalty to your Packers, though.
See, it is. Yeah, get to watch them every week. Absolutely. So, what about wide receivers then?
Wide receivers, that one's kind of tough, but I'm putting Amon-Ra at number 1, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
We'll put CD at number 2, and then Tyreek Hill at number 3. And
Tyreek's
then
dropped to number 3. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, we're splitting hairs between these top guys. We're talking about the elite of the elite. And then probably Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, even though Chase is having contract issues right now.
Well, and who's going to be throwing the ball to Jefferson? Darnold?
It could be Darnold. Could be JJ McCarthy.
Or McCarthy's on there. Yeah, never mind. They picked up McCarthy. I was thinking Knicks. You're right.
And I guess one of the reasons why I'm not worried about it, Justin Jefferson, he's such a good route runner. Like, it's not like he only runs deep routes and that's it. Like, he's a really good route runner. They can get him involved in the short game, in the mid range, in the long game. So even if it is a QB that can't go down the field like crazy, he'll be getting involved and getting the ball a lot.
Sounds good. And then let's see. So we had Ron Brady's. Where do you go next? Do you go defense or do you go? I assume you do sort of like I do. Kickers, like, okay, I'll have to pick a kicker sometime.
So I don't play in leagues with kickers anymore, and I'm
Oh.
I'm an advocate for the individual defensive players instead of the team defense. So the difference, team defense, you're picking one player, I guess, that represents 11
Mhm.
NFL players on the field. I do a lot of leagues where we pick the individual players. So we pick the TJ Watts of the world
Well,
and
okay.
the Roquan Smiths, and it just opens up just a larger pool of players that you could pick from and makes it a lot easier to trade because there's more players like in the
Mhm.
pool in the league that you can choose from. And if you are not the lucky person who has CMC or, you know, Mahomes or whoever ends up being like the top dog at the offensive position, if you build right on your defense, you can kind of counterbalance not having the best at a position.
I honestly have not played with one. I've always been total defense, and they still carry a kicker. Usually, it's starting 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Yeah. Much simpler, old school leagues, I think.
Well, we dive a lot, and it's probably the more simple because I mean, when fantasy football was invented, they played with defensive players. So I think it was like just somewhere like along the way where it kind of just made it more simple. I think that's what it was. Defense isn't sexy.
Probably also reduced your draft time from 4 hours to 2 hours.
That's for sure.
Depends upon where you're drafting, though. So do you do live drafts, or do you do mail-in drafts, or do you do actual in-person live drafts?
I mean, I would love to have a bunch of live drafts. It's like super fun. Last year we had an event here in Vegas where we had a bunch of live drafts going on. It's not that realistic. I don't live around. I don't live in my hometown anymore, where I grew up, and you know where everyone's at. So most of the time we're just doing them online, just through the fantasy apps. A lot of times I'll be streaming on YouTube, so it's kind of like we're drafting, you know, live all together. At least somewhat of that feel.
There's that. Yeah, that's true. Since the pandemic, with the usage of Zoom and a lot of the other platforms, it makes it at least sort of like you're there.
Yeah,
It's hard to get someone to buy a round of beer, though.
that's for sure. That's for sure.
So, what is your favorite fantasy platform or league to get in publicly?
Sleeper. If that's what you mean, like which app to play on,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
would be the one. Yeah, that would be the one. They kind of cater more to the fantasy degenerates. How about that?
Sure.
They're like ESPN. You know, I mean, they're a whole entertainment, you know, brand, and you know, fantasy football is just kind of like one little thing that they have to like advertise, you know, for them and everything else that they do. Same thing with Yahoo. You know, Yahoo's like this huge search engine and so many things, and like fantasy football is just a place where they, you know, they get a lot of traffic, they get a lot of advertisers, things like that. Sleepers is an actual, just their whole business is being the fantasy football app.
Nice.
So they change, they evolve every single year. They're making upgrades and updates, and so that, and then you could play. I don't know if you could play in unlimited leagues, but I have like hundreds and hundreds of leagues on there right now, and I'm still able to keep adding more. Can't do that on Yahoo, and can't do that on ESPN and or NFL, and those platforms aren't. You can't even use them year round.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely true. Definitely true. So, what else would you like to tell us about your fantasy hustling?
Well, so all of this kind of started when COVID started. Like I'd always been into fantasy football and stuff, and I have like a really big fantasy football group on Facebook that I started, I think in 2017. But during COVID, I got laid off. I had already been I've already started working on like some video editing and things like that. And I kind of just jumped into going live and answering people's questions, and kind of turned this idea of giving people fantasy advice into like a whole business now. It's like a full fantasy advice service, and that's like just one of the things that I create leagues for people to be in, and smoking weed along the way. And like our whole community is called the 420 crew, and everything is kind of based around just what's it all based around? It's about being open to new things, being open to new people, you know, not excluding people, you know, based on any kind of just no exclusions, you know, nothing like that. And a lot of people are guys like me. Like, I mean, I'm 38 and it seems like I'm one of the youngest people in the community, but it's people like my age all the way. I think like some of our main supporters, I mean, they're in their early 50s, you know, and like we all kind of found like-minded people who really like football. We like talking shit. And and fantasy football is just kind of a way to connect with your friends. You know, it's different. It's like parallel to video games, you know, like if we were younger and video games was a way you connected with people. Now this is a way that you connect with people and just to have some kind of common interest.
So you tell me you're not running your Madden team the same as your fantasy team?
we are getting back into video games though. That's funny. I got the new NCAA game and we're getting an online dynasty going, and we all suck at it. I haven't played for like 10 years, but it's just fun, just something to do with everybody.
Yeah, we started getting really back into video games during the pandemic also, because it's something you could do remote with people. And my two sons and my wife and I run our dispensary, and we started playing, believe it or not, Oculus mini golf during
Nice.
the pandemic. And it's if you've ever played it, it's actually a really, really good game on there. I was absolutely surprised. And they keep coming out. It's Walkabout Golf. I don't know if you've heard of that one. But if you like mini golf, if you're not a golfer but you like mini golf, it's a blast. They just came out with I'm trying to think whether it was the Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Below the Sea, and they came out with a couple other ones that are recent too that I'm actually behind on. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Nice.
we've been doing Dungeon-born beta and then Helldivers too at night.
Okay. Nice.
All real serious stuff. Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So let's see. How long have you been on Roku?
So how long has it been? Just this year is when it started, when I got connected with the Citizen Green guys, Citizen Green TV. And yeah, I want to say maybe it's been 3 or 4 months. Maybe it has been since then.
Got it.
Yeah,
It's just ramping up then for fantasy football then, right? I mean,
yeah, just very recent. I mean, we do a lot of sports talk and stuff. You know, I mean, things are going to get way busier as far as like viewers on our live streams when fantasy football starts, you know, when the football season's actually here. But yeah, I mean, we a lot of sports talk and a lot of, you know, weed smoking during our sports talk. That's always the most fun part. And yeah, we actually do drafts like year round. So whether it's drafts just for practice or I host a big tournament. It's $11 buy-in, but you can keep getting into like each division is 12 teams, and right now we have over 100 divisions in that have already drafted, and so it's just this low stakes, but there's thousands and thousands of dollars like at stake. So small amount of money, you get to kill a couple hours throughout random days, and that $11 could turn into last year. The winner won $3,000.
Damn, Holly's in. I just saw it in her eye. She goes,
"Yeah, I'm going to learn this now."
So you could do what my wife did the first year she did her fantasy football team. She picked it based on jerseys. That year, she ended up with 6 Jets on her. This is when Al Toon was playing. 6 Jets, and they carried her all the way to the championship based on the jerseys. And I was like, yeah, it gets frustrating. Or I've also had somebody pick on by mascots. They went with, well, you know, a bear is going to beat a lion, you know.
And seeing what I tell everybody, if you don't know anything, all you have to do is either hire a guy like me, which $10 to $25 a month, or just come and watch all my YouTube shows for free. And you can literally ask questions while I'm on live. I'm usually doing it a few hours a day, and you'll get the answers, you'll get the why, and you'll learn things, because it's not just your question that I'm answering. I'm usually answering like hundreds of questions in, you know, a couple hours.
So how do you like the questions when the people call in and they're like, well, I've got 4 running backs this week, but I need you to pick 2 of them, and we're on a PPE league. So how thrilled are you to answer those questions?
I guess I'm as thrilled as I am about answering anyone's questions, because I've heard it all at this point, and sometimes I'll bust some balls, you know, when they ask me the question, but it's all in good fun. And I think that's what people at least are going to realize about me. Like, you know, maybe there's some trash talk here or there, but it's about helping people at the end of the day, but making sure that we can laugh along the way as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you get too serious about fantasy football, you can stroke out. It's
And there's some crazy people out there. Trust me, I've seen them.
especially when you get your number one, number two scores go down for the season. You're like,
Oh yeah,
no.
those people get real bitter real fast.
Oh yeah, real bitter, real fast. Oh, I know what one of the questions I had is, how do you guys look on most of your leagues? How do you look at trades? Is that something that's fairly active or pretty dead?
Well, every league is different, and I would say the dynasty leagues that I'm in, that's the one where you draft, and then every single year you keep your same team, but you just draft the rookie players. So it's kind of probably as close as you can get as an NFL, like GM. Those ones I would say are pretty active, but it's because you can trade like future picks and things as well. So there's just a lot of different reasons why people might be trading. I feel like in a lot of the redraft leagues that I'm in, there's always trades, but sometimes it's harder to trade because everyone's trying to win that year and nobody wants to lose a trade, like that's the hard part.
So the dynasty leagues, if you've got someone you pick up on IR, they're still on your roster then next year, correct?
Yeah.
So you might be able to get up decent talent if you know you're going to be in it for a couple of years.
Yeah, if it's someone good, they're not really being dropped though. So that's another thing too. Just because someone gets hurt, that's not a reason not to draft them. It's not a reason not to cut them.
I was going back to the Rodgers example before. It's like I could see someone going, "Oh man, I'm out of quarterback now," and he may not have picked a backup quarterback because you got Rodgers. What do you need a backup for except on bye weeks? I could see him going fairly cheap, and then you sit on him for a year because he's 41 with an Achilles.
No, he's not 40 yet, but he's getting
Isn't
there.
he? I thought he was.
I think he's like 38, 39, isn't he? Did he cross 40 yet?
I thought he did, but maybe not.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, you know what? He is 40. He's turning 41 in December.
So yeah, then there you go. So it's just an interesting thing because I know most of the leagues. You're right. If it's not a dynasty league, trading is usually pretty minimal, or it's just ridiculous.
Especially if it's a league that you know everybody forever. Everyone knows each other. Like nobody wants to trade with anybody because everyone, even though you know each other, you kind of hate each other at the same time.
It's the time. Yeah, it's that time of the year when Sundays come to football, and and they might even be playing. Some of them are just for fun fantasy leagues. Yeah, and it's the same. I don't think it even matters. Yeah, depends upon the.
Well, it definitely matters, but
I meant with the trading. I don't think the trading is that active, regardless if you're playing for $1, if you're playing for $1 million. Yeah, no one wants to trade. I'll give you Saquon Barkley for your entire team. So.
And I think it's just being in leagues. We call them the home leagues, where it's just maybe it's the group of your friends you known forever. Maybe it's your work league, or something like that. Those are usually the ones where there's no trading, where everybody's known each other for a while. If you got into one of my leagues and you didn't know anybody, I bet you could make a trade because people don't have this preconceived notion about someone or screw this guy because I traded him 5 years ago and he got the best of me. Like there's no thoughts like that because nobody knows each other.
Very, very much so. Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah. No, I remember when you got me 3 years ago and you ended up winning the championship. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
People carry those grudges. I would like to say for a lifetime, like it's that serious.
I would give you a hell yeah on that one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or especially when you're playing with a mix of family and coworkers and friends and stuff. So do you play any? Do you play outside? Do anything with pick'em leagues or confidence leagues other than that outside of fantasy, or are you strictly fantasy?
No, just pretty much fantasy. I dabble in some bets like here and there, like just during the football season, but it's mostly for fun. All just small scale stuff just to keep my gambling juices flowing, I guess. But it sucks being in Nevada. I can't actually compete in a lot of those things because unless it's through the casino, like the MGM and Caesars, like they have like a stronghold on like all of those like type of things. So if it's not them offering it, probably can't do it in Nevada. Not yet anyway.
Interesting. I would have thought it been the other way around. It would have been so much easier, but that makes sense.
Everything that's moving online. I mean, they're just a little bit slower is what it is. Cause most people are coming in and going to the casinos.
Since you brought up Vegas, what's going on with the Raiders?
Pretty much the same thing that's been going on with them the last 30, 40 years, like little
not much
flashes. Yeah, there's little flashes in the pan here or there, but that's about it.
So
They
is Devontae Adams just going to die on the vine then over there?
I hope not. I mean, he's so talented. He kind of got the short end of the stick the way that it worked out. I mean, he gets pulled over there by a racist coach who gets fired, and then like the quarterback that he's like been friends with since college gets released or traded, whatever happened with him. And
I
yeah,
can't
it's
even
like
name who is the quarterback in LA this year,
either
in the Raiders this year. I don't even know who it is.
either Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, whichever one ends up winning out.
Huh. If I'm Devontae, I'm like, yeah, San Diego's looking pretty good with Harbaugh there.
They're cursed too. They can't win it. They're just cursed.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. So when does your show dive deep into picks and rankings and such? Is that starting up already now in August?
Yeah, so I just released my top 25 IDP rankings, and so that's for people who maybe they play in a shallow league with individual defensive players, but just so everyone knows who the cream of the crop is and who deserves to be drafted that high. I just released that a couple days ago, and I just hate doing rankings. It's just like it's just boring to me. So.
Mhm.
I try not to do rankings as much as possible, but I do try to make like little short videos and clips of like who's my top 10, things like that. And but as far as like just diving into the fantasy world, like we're knee deep in it. We're knee deep.
Sounds good. So what else? What else is exciting on your show? Do you typically bring in? And I apologize, I haven't seen your show yet. But do you bring
No
in
problem.
guests typically? Do you run it solo? How do you work on that?
So a lot of times it's me running solo, but we do bring guests on for interviews. Ricky Williams, he's someone who's been on the show a handful of times, and it's always fun
Really?
talking with him. Yeah, he's connected.
So for Holly, do you know who Ricky Williams is?
I have no idea.
So Ricky Williams was extremely talented running back. However, Mike Ditka was down at the Saints, right, when he drafted him. Ricky
Yep.
Williams, I think.
Yeah,
And he overpaid with, I want to say, his 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a third maybe round pick for Ricky Williams. And Mike Ditka didn't make it that long. Well, Ricky Williams quit the league. I'm going to give you 3 guesses why Ricky Williams quit the league. He's in the NFL making millions. Why did Ricky Williams quit the league?
Probably, I don't know, pride,
Nope, not injury.
woman,
Not pride.
money, weed. I don't know. Booze,
No,
gambling.
it was weed. Cannabis was not allowed in the league, and he's like, I mean, is that a fair statement, Alex? Right?
It's more. It's definitely. I mean, especially after talking to him and watching the ESPN 30 for 30 movie about him, it's definitely more than just weed. But when it happened, it might as well have been that.
Yeah,
that's what everybody thought and assumed that it was. He got suspended for a year, is what it was, and he's like, "Well, they suspended me for a year, anyways. I'm just going to tell him I quit. We'll figure everything else out later."
Yeah, so he's been a big cannabis advocate at least since he was released by the NFL. But I know that was a major thing. So that's an excellent guest for both shows. In fact, you can see if you can get him on, Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been super fun. He's super busy now with his the Heisman brand. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's his cannabis brand. And so they're going all over. He's doing tours, for all the different dispensaries and everything that he's getting it in.
So is that a med rec product or a hemp product? Do you know?
Say it again. Is that
a med rec marijuana product, or is it a hemp derived product?
Yeah.
Shoot, we can't sell it here. So yeah, we're in Wisconsin. We are hemp derived only.
I know that they're getting into hemp or the THCA or something because they have it down in Florida and in Texas now, and I know that it's not fully recreational in those places yet. So I know they're making some version of it that's either THCA or fully hemp, one of the two.
Yeah, THCA is another topic for another show because technically it's legal to sell, but as soon as you smoke it, it's illegal.
Yeah. But if they're not going around busting people for, smoking in their own house and things like that, I would never live in a state that's not legal anymore. Like I moved from California to here and would not have moved here if I could have gotten in trouble for Nobody should get in trouble for smoking weed.
I don't disagree with you. Don't disagree with you at all. Yeah, no, we actually donate a percentage of our profits to the Last Prisoner Project, which helps people that were incarcerated unjustly, because there are people that are doing 10 years for possession on small quantities when you could go in and murder somebody and get 5.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. So,
Bill, did you want to run your ad real quick?
Oh, sure,
We'll take a real quick break, and we'll come right back and continue our fantasy football hustle talks. Stay tuned.
Ethereal Gold Dispensary, the best kept secret around. Legal cannabis, mushrooms, and more straight to your doorstep. Each product is meticulously tested, setting the ethereal gold standard nationwide. And we're not just in it for the greenbacks, folks. We honor our troops and veterans with a special discount. Plus, 2% of every purchase goes to local charities. Visit etherealgolddispensary.com and use the code RADIOHIGH for 15% off. Enjoy yourselves, my friends.
And welcome back, everybody. We are talking with fantasy football hustler from Las Vegas, Mr. Alex Marino, and my co-host and him are just yucking it up, having a good old time. So let's go ahead and continue the convo.
Do you have anything particular you wanted to talk about, Alex? Otherwise, I've got one more.
Why don't you ask me what you have, and then we'll see what sparks in my brain.
So, as you know, Holly does not follow football much, but I think we might be able to get her convinced to maybe get in a fantasy league. What would you have as a recommendation for a total newbie that may or may not even know how to score football? I'm not quite sure.
Well, I have 2 suggestions. One would be free, and then the other would be $33. So one, I'm hosting a league for a cannabis brand in Southern California, Wafers. And it's a free league, and it's mostly just for fun. Well, not mostly just for fun. It's 100% for fun because you're not putting in any money. But there's weekly prizes, there's yearly prizes, and really it's just about getting people who are into fantasy and into weed and getting them all in the same space and kind of just creating a big tournament like around it. So that would be one. That would be fun, completely free. And then another one, Holly, for you specifically, I'm hosting an all-women's league. And there's a couple of the 420 crew members who are just hardcore lady degenerate fantasy football players. And last year, one of them was like, "Hey, you ever thought of doing an all women's league?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but I need like a woman to kind of like spearhead it. Like I'll host everything. I'll treat it the same way." But I was like, no matter what, if I'm the one posting about it, it might just be a little weird. But if it's like a lady posting about it and they're like, "Hey, come join this all ladies league," it's a little bit different.
Just put a wig on.
I could do just like
the beard, keep the mustache. It'll be fine.
I think I saw that episode on South Park.
Yeah.
I'm here for the women's race. Yes.
And call yourself Alexis.
So that's a low stakes league, and then one specifically all for women. And I just want to do whatever I can to like where there's like I talked about the IDP a little bit earlier. Like it's not super huge in fantasy football, but I know a lot of people really love it. So I'm going to do my part to try to get it bigger. And like right now, it seems like it's a 99% to 1 ratio of men who play fantasy football to women. But all the women that I've ever encountered who play are like super degenerates and love it, just as much as guys do. So it's like, if you're into football, like you'd be into fantasy football. I think it's just finding a group and finding a little community that you can like get in and play with.
I like watching football for the little uniforms that they wear. So, I like that.
There you go.
My wife one day said, she goes, what's really nice about having Red Zone is you get to see a little bit of everybody's backside in their uniforms. Yeah.
Just being honest. Just
Yeah,
being.
no, it's the way it is. What's ironic though is we were thinking about not getting Red Zone, and my wife was like, "No, we're getting Red Zone. We have to have Red Zone." I'm like, "Okay, I won't bring that to the table again." That was an easy sell. Yeah,
Yeah, and there's a service that sponsors my podcast, and they it's pretty much it's a everything under the sun like type service where I mean it's just an app that you put on your Fire Stick, but you get access to all the games and Red Zone and all the pay-per-views and all that for $40 a month.
Really?
Yeah. So maybe I'll put that in our chat right here just so you guys can.
That might be that'd be interesting because every year we have to decide where we're going to try to track down the NFL Network and where the hell they're putting games. And I have to tell you, last year sucked. It's like, well, where are we today? Oh, today we're on Peacock, and tomorrow we're on NBC, and next week we're on ESPN, and now we have the Packers and the Eagles playing in Brazil, but they can't wear green. I don't know.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And the NFL, I know they lost that lawsuit just because of how the games are being streamed and different blackouts and the Sunday ticket. And I don't know all the particulars. I just know they lost out on it was either hundreds of millions or like it might have even touched like somewhere in like $1 billion.
Wow. I didn't even know that happened. So what's changing this year? Do you have any idea?
I think there's going to be less blackouts. I think that's one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how much is actually changing. I think they just have to pay. Like there's a lot of bar owners that didn't like the practices that were going on, and they're forced to like buy it from the Sunday ticket, and something about blackouts. I'm not really sure like the exact logistics, but it was one bar owner who kind of sparked this whole thing, and it's been going on for like 6 or 7 years apparently, and finally came to a head this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize it came to a head, but I'm glad to hear it because last year was an absolute. I mean, even if you had a local channel, sometimes you got blocked or on a blackout, that's total BS. But so I'll definitely check out. So what was the name of the app?
So, I mean, everything's through like my website on Fantasy Football Hustler, but it's Blue Steel streaming. So once you sign up, that's the app, and then Insomnia is the service. So when they click, you'll see Insomnia service, and then you sign up. Once you sign up, you get everything emailed to you, like how to download it on your Fire Stick, and then you'll get my email for contact and everything. And I'm kind of like the account manager of everyone who gets signed up.
So it has to be on a Fire Stick, though?
Well, that's the best way if you want to connect it to a TV. And the Fire Sticks, I mean, they're like $20 or $30. You can watch it on a phone, on an iPad, on your computer. But the Fire Stick's going to be the way that you get it on your TV.
Got it. So it's not running through Roku or something like that. Got it. Perfect.
No.
We'll have to check it out because I mean we were bouncing around between Sling and 9 different things trying to find a game sometimes, which was just counterproductive and a pain in the butt. So sometimes we just sit down and go, screw it, we'll just watch Red Zone.
Yeah. And the Fire Sticks, when you can download Roku TV on there as well. So if it's someone who wants to watch the Roku stuff, they can still get that through the Fire Sticks.
Nice. What other questions do you have, Holly, since you've been sponging here, just absorbing?
I am taking notes. I am, fantasy football, money, dollar signs, degenerate. That's me. I think what we're going to do right now is, since we are on Citizen Green TV and the whole disabled veteran audience, I would kind of like to go ahead and run our a little patriotic tribute to our troops, and we'll come right back.
Perfect.
Stay tuned.
Sounds good.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop. And his 18th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, pay the ultimate price. He was the man of the house when he was born. His family is proud but torn. But if you knew him, you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. 'Cause Mr. Red, White, and Blue lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on these front lines. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, he'll pay the ultimate price. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down his life. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. March in line, march in line. Hey, hey.
Hello and welcome back to Dog Days. We are talking with fantasy football hustler Mr. Alex Marino with Elevated Sports Talk, and we're just yucking it up here, throwing around all kinds of stats and picks and all kinds of good stuff. So go ahead and continue the conversation, guys. I am taking notes.
I think you might want to recap, who are your top 5 picks? Just kidding. I was just kidding. On your notes, I thought if you had it, since Alex already given us some, that was good. I was like, let's see how good those notes are.
Yeah. How about for everybody who's not super into fantasy football? I think if you are on Facebook, you should come join my fantasy advice group. If you just type in fantasy football, it's like the top one. There's like 100 and something thousand people in. It's fantasy football advice for experts, gurus, and beginners. Really good group to join, 100% free. And you'll be able to get just, I guess, a lot of insight from a lot of different people in there. And you'll be able to find some leagues as well. I like to promote my, oh my gosh, here comes Noble. Oh, I like to promote my private community, which you could join for free. You don't get access to everything, but you can join as a $5 member and goes all the way up to like $50 and different levels of access. And the higher the tier that you're on, the more raffle tickets you get for every raffle that we do every month. And it's 420crew.com. That's where you can come get fantasy advice. You can join a league. All the shows that I do, you'll get the update of when we go live. And fantasy, just football news in general. If there's big injuries or things like that, I like to go and post that just so people can see what the heck is going on and give them a little bit of a leg up on your competition. How about that?
That's actually a good segue. Who do you like to track for accurate injury information? Since some of the coaches sit back until last minute, you may not know until Sunday at 11:59 if your starting QB is going. Is there anybody that you recommend for following for that, or is that something you do on your
Me.
show? There you go.
Me.
Well, that's
I'd be the
I'm
best
giving
one
you
to
I'm giving you the softball here.
Me. So my YouTube channel is Fantasy Football Hustler. And so like let's just use Sunday as an example because that's the day everybody's setting their lineups. Everyone's got their food, barbecues, or whatever going, getting ready for all the games to kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern time, 10 West Coast time. I'm live for a few hours that day. Every time something happens, I'm shouting it out as it happens in real time. So like if you just have me on the TV in the background where you're not in the chat or communicating, if there's a big injury or someone's going out, as soon as it comes in, I'm shouting it out so everybody can hear. So I'm really I may not be the best because I am getting information from other people, but you only have to follow one person to get information from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people out there. So that's why I feel why I'm the best at bringing in all this information and then digesting it as fast as possible to people who don't want to have to follow more than one person.
Perfect. Because I had to tell you, yeah, following on the wire otherwise, NFL, it seems to lag sometimes, and sometimes the injuries conflict, and then you have to wait and see what's going on, make changes with your afternoon players versus your noon players.
And I always do a show late night on Saturday night, like 9 or 10 o'clock, like West Coast time. So, after midnight for the East Coasters and stuff. We're always getting super late night news that impacts us the next morning. And so if you don't fall asleep and you're able to watch me on YouTube, you'll get a heads up just for the next morning. Maybe you're picking up someone on Saturday night because you heard about an injury and we know this person might get an opportunity tomorrow because this person probably isn't going to play or might not play, or it's a 50-50 chance. And so just being tapped in on YouTube, because this is what I do. And it all started from these live streams where I'm giving people advice and telling people who to start and sit, who to avoid, all that kind of stuff.
So then I'm gonna take it a different direction then. So since you mentioned fantasy football and smoking, have you tried edibles at all in fantasy football? Because I'm wondering, have you ever tried HHC?
I've not tried HHC. Well, maybe I have. Maybe I'm just not familiar with it. I dabble in edibles here and there, but sometimes edibles just make me fall asleep.
Well, a lot of times that's how I got into edibles, is to sleep. Yeah. So yes, they can. And if you get a really strong indica strain. So HHC is sort of it's a hemp derived cannabinoid naturally occurring in the plant, 100% legal. And as long as you get tested product, you should experience a very mild buzz and a little relaxation, but it also helps you focus. And I know that we've used it for gaming.
I like it.
So if you're gaming, that and THCV somewhat does that, but it's not as common. But HHC is still fairly common, and it's legal in most states. A little bit interesting instead of smoking and just
I do like the act of smoking and doing my dabs and hitting my bong and everything. I will tell you though, I went to LA for this it was an all you can smoke fest that was happening in LA. And so I went down there and I took an edible before I left to go get on the plane. Fell asleep on the plane and I woke up super groggy, and man, I had way too many milligrams because I made it to the hotel, made it to the Uber, slept in the Uber the whole 40-minute ride, and then made it to the hotel, had a digital key so I didn't have to talk to anybody. I went in the room and I slept for like 4 hours.
So out of curiosity, how many milligrams was that edible?
500.
Oh, oh mama. Yeah. I'm impressed that you were able to get up after 4 hours. 500? If that's a legit 500, that is, I would call that fetal position.
Yeah, it was. I was heavily medicated. It was a heavy dose.
I bet you woke up extremely thirsty and dehydrated. Also,
it was fun though. We were good. It was a fun start to a good couple-day vacation.
Travel? What travel? I just went to sleep. Yeah, reminds me of when you were a kid on a road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That.
Okay,
What is
guys.
it?
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
this has been an awesome show. Thank you, Alex, for coming on. Bill, I am so glad you were able to make it today and be the co-host, because this would have been a very short show if I was if it was just Alex and I, because I would be there like, huh? Tell me more. What? Football? Okay.
A what?
Cleats.
Yeah.
So
We didn't get
I
we didn't
I
get into
appreciate
fantasy
you both
scoring.
coming
Yeah.
on the show. And it's been a really interesting conversation with you guys. Thank you for coming on, Alex. And definitely some really good information for beginners out there. I may be giving you a call later. So thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe out there. Until next time.
Yeah. Have a good one. Pleasure meeting you, Alex.
Yep.
Yep.
Salute.
Take care.